Welcome to episode 5 of coOperators. Augmented Biscuits here with Chucking Dice.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about adventure games. We're going to talk about a few games we've recently played, Chucking Dice and I. They're more, not much action, more exploring and piecing together story elements. We're also going to talk about creating stories for tabletop RPGs as far as like pointers and also pitfalls that you might run into, things like that.
All right. I want to start out with one game that we both played that's been released recently. It's a demo called Resident Evil 7 Beginning Hour. It's free to download for PlayStation Plus members only. So if you're a PlayStation Plus member, if you pay that $50 a year, then you can download this immediately. If not, you'll have to pay some ridiculous fee. This is thematically very different from any of the Resident Evil games. I did play Resident Evil 5, didn't really like it. I played Resident Evil 4, loved it. And I played Resident Evil 1 through 3, which, yeah, I in general liked. You mentioned that this jokingly in the last podcast that you called it Resident Evil PT. It's first person, not third person like most Resident Evils. It's not action-oriented. It's more exploring and figuring out, the details.
I believe it was a few E3s ago, maybe not this past E3, but either the E3 before last, which probably was 2015. It was either 2015 or 2014's E3, where Konami had a demo station set up, and it was for something called PT. No one knew what it was. Everyone started playing it, and what the demo involved was you woke up in a room, and when you walked out of this room, you woke up alone. You woke up alone in this room, and there was one door. When you walked out the door, it was a hallway in a house. It was very dimly lit, and all you did in this demo is you walked around the house the whole time. And it wasn't an entire house. It was actually just a hallway. So every time you would walk in through the door, you would go into this hallway, and then when you reached the door at the very end, it would loop back around. And then, so during the E3, somebody actually managed to complete the demo. And at the end of the demo, a title card came up that said Silent Hills. And this was the new Silent Hill entry, not from longtime, Team Silent Hill. It was actually from Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, which blew everybody's mind. And it was going to star Norman Reedus from Walking Dead.
Which brings us to this Resident Evil 7 Beginning Hour. You're not a STARS agent. You're not Leon Kennedy. You're not Jill Valentine, the master of lockpicking. You apparently are just a normal person who wakes up in a house, very similar to Silent Hill PT, or I guess PT. And you're just thrusted in this situation, in this very, very creepy haunted, like I'm going to say haunted house just because it just has the feeling of a haunted house, but it's like, really dingy in there. There's a lot of boarded up doors. You're kind of locked in. It kind of reminds me of like the portion in the remake of Hills Have Eyes when the main character finds himself in the mutated hillbillies like lair. You got to find your way out of this place. And along the way, you find clues, which brings me to a very unique point. You find a VHS tape, and you pop it into a section where you can actually put it into a VCR, and then you experience the flashback. And you can reenact the flashback in any way you want, which I thought was really interesting. And I'm thinking that you're supposed to be the cameraman of the person who's recording the entire segment on VHS, because that's what it seems like. But you can unlock things, and then they'll be unlocked when you stop the VHS tape. From what I could see, like for example, there's actually a drawer, and you actually can find a lockpick in between. I think spoiler, but a refrigerator and a microwave. And you can unlock a drawer, and if once you stop the tape, if you go down to that same drawer, there'll be a hatchet waiting for you. I have no idea what you can do with that thing besides break boxes, because it doesn't, there's nothing that really attacks you in that game. It's just a lot of atmospheric scares and stuff like that. In many ways, this kind of reminds me of the sort of, I would say, new wave horror games, like, I guess, Amnesia and, was it Outlast, I think?
The story with Outlast was you were a reporter who got this random email from someone who worked for a kind of like a private military company, and this military company took over this insane asylum, and they're doing experiments on people. And this guy who works for them, he's like the IT guy. He sends you an email, and it essentially says, "I need you to go to this insane asylum and record everything you see and expose the truth that this paramilitary company is doing experiments." And so when you start the game, you pull up to the insane asylum, and all you have is your camera with night vision. And because everything's dark, you have to use your night vision camera to navigate when it's dark. But you also only have a limited amount of battery. You can find batteries around, but it's also very limited. It's similar to like how Resident Evil has item management, and so you have to really, really kind of conserve your battery so you can get through the darker parts. It's really intense. I would actually highly recommend it. This Resident Evil 7 demo seems to be more of the new wave horror, where it's less action, less combat, more in your face kind of psychological horror. A lot of it is atmosphere and getting you to be really unsettled. I know you being a horror movie buff, would you say this house was very similar to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Because I only ever saw the remake, and they kind of had those sections where people woke up in these rooms and they were trying to get out, and there was all these like kind of weird, creepy things. I know with the Resident Evil 7 demo though, I didn't find a lot of that stuff, because when I played it, I was actually playing in the middle of the night, and I really didn't want to get too scared and too into it. So I walked around mainly just trying to escape the house. So I didn't know you can unlock things in the past in the videotape and have it in the future. But I know I did talk to you when after you played the demo, and there was there was a section towards the end where you essentially find the key. You pretty much find the key to the front door, right. And when you find that key, I turned around and I saw somebody walk by, and the whole time I'm just thinking, God damn it, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want. I know as soon as I walk into the hallway, just like every horror movie trope, as soon as you walk in, you see somebody in the corner of your eye walk by or in the shadows, and you know as soon as that person turns around, they're gonna get attacked. So it was one of those things where it was funny. We were having this conversation, and I said, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to walk out and get attacked. So I ended up just running straight for the door. And the cool thing was, when I ran out into the hallway and I made a beeline for the door, the way the area set up is you actually have to run through the kitchen. So when I ran through the kitchen, I actually heard somebody running behind me, and it followed me, and you can hear the footsteps change as they go into the kitchen. And I ran for the door and unlocked it, and I happened to look back at the very last moment. Nothing was there. So I was like, oh, great, awesome. I get to escape the house. And, of course, the ending of the demo happens. So what did you think of the entire ending?
So at the end of the game, someone says, "Welcome to the family," turns you around and punches you in the face, and that's how it stopped. So, like, what it kind of reminded me of is there's this movie. It's an old 70s television movie. It was made during the period where television actually was trying to compete with feature film. So TV movies were actually not bad. But this one actually reminded me of another movie called Bad Ronald. And what Bad Ronald is about this kid named Ronald. He was living with his only mother. His mother ends up dying, and he has nowhere to go. So, actually, I'm sorry. Let me go back. He's actually accused of a crime. I believe it's accidental, manslaughter. And his mom basically hides him in the alcove of the house. So there's like a hidden, basically room in the house, and he kind of lives in between the walls of the house. His mother ends up passing away, and he continues to live inside the house while a new family lives there, and he just becomes this creepy kid that looks at this girl through all the peepholes of the house. And he's getting more and more dirty, and it's harder for him to get food. But that's what that kind of reminded me of, because if you do investigate the house further, there's a lot of hidden areas where, you can actually go in between the walls. And that's probably what you're hearing, all the running around and stuff like that, is that person who's inside the walls chasing you down and just keeping tabs on you. There's this one really creepy part in the game that just took me by surprise, is when you go upstairs, to investigate, there are these like mannequins against the wall. If you turn the corner and like look at the basically inconsequential stuff that's there, and come back, next to the staircase is another mannequin. And like I was actually streaming this with a chat, and I was like looking at it and like, was that there?
That that was that there? That was there, right? Someone tell me if that was there or not.
And I just basically asked the chat, "Hey guys, was that there before?" And one of them said, "No, that was not there." So it freaked me out, and it's so weird because I even said, "Man, this is the atmosphere of this Silent Hill," and I misspoke because that's what it seemed like. It seemed like Silent Hill. It didn't seem like Resident Evil at all. Now, I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. I tend to think it's a good thing because I think Resident Evil is at its best when it's reinventing itself. I liked Resident Evil 1 and 2. 3, not to a great extent, but I do appreciate all the changes they made. I like the chase with Nemesis and stuff. 4, I thought was incredible. And then, 5 came out, didn't really enjoy it. Revelations, I like a little because it was presented like a television show. And, we move up to 7. I didn't play 6. We move up to 7, and all of a sudden it's like this weirdly down-to-earth, horror movie with a small tie to at least... the other games, because you do find a picture of a helicopter that has the umbrella symbol on it. So I don't know what the connection right there is.
Again, I honestly didn't see a lot of these things because when I played the demo, I was trying my hardest just to get to the end of it because I did not want to explore. And it's great hearing you talk about it because I missed a lot of things apparently. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's for the better. I agree with you that Resident Evil really is at its best when it's reinventing itself. One Resident Evil. I mean, you can almost say this might go back to Resident Evil 1. I mean, Resident Evil 1 was just an isolated mansion. 2 moved into the city, but you were kind of really stuck in only 3 areas. 3 was the same thing. 4 was the reinvention. And I feel like with 4, because so many people enjoyed the action aspect of it, I think Capcom kind of just pushed that a bit too much. So that's why you got 5 and 6. 6 was very action orientated. They tried to the funny thing with 6 is they tried 3 different things. They actually tried a combination of Resident Evil Revelations, because that was more horror, and more kind of older school Resident Evil games were slower and more horror. They did Resident Evil 5 and 4, which is more action orientated, and then they did this kind of weird Resident Evil 3 hybrid where something was chasing you constantly. But they had 3 separate storylines, and none of them really worked very well. Also, the game wasn't... You were essentially just playing a reskin of Resident Evil 4. And the story was just really convoluted.